Live. So, live stream. Here we go. All right. Live stream in the new spot. Never done it here before. So, explore what's coming up. I think after this one, I'm going to erase it. So, what I want to do is really talk about the very first business that I started. And really, it was me and a couple other people. So, it was like a team of us that started it. And I'm gonna get into, how it worked and how it made money, stuff like that. And I want to keep this open, so basically anybody can ask questions. And the main thing I want to do is, if anybody has a a hobby that they're doing or something that they want to make money from, they can go ahead and type in basically their situation, and I can see if there's anything I can do that would give them any advice on how to basically, excuse me, basically monetize what they're trying to do. So I'm gonna get into what I got to say. The first business that I was a part of, first business that I did, I had already gone to school to do basically some kind of like international relations because I like studying international, just kind of like the state of what's going on internationally, mainly kind of like monetary stuff, like how does money flow throughout the world, how does that affect government, stuff like that. And I changed my mind. I'm still interested in that stuff a lot. I still watch a lot of global news and stuff like that, but basically I changed my mind that I wanted to do business more than I wanted to do that, which, I mean, at the end of the day, depending on how you put it, it all is tied into the same thing. But at the time I didn't really see that because, with school they were like, well, business and international relations are two different things. Like with international relations, you would go into like the United Nations or some kind of job like that. And I was like, well, I want to do business. But I mean, really, like they just told me basically that I couldn't do something that's very possible. Like now I understand that a huge part of business is understanding international relations. Because when you look at it like investing, especially from an investing standpoint, like the better you understand international relations, what's going on with the money flowing through the world, what's going on with politics and everything like that, the better you're going to be at investing, the better you're going to be at business, especially if you want your business to grow internationally. I mean, you got to understand all this stuff. So it all came back around. At the time, I just thought it was some two totally different things because I let other people try to tell me, uh, what I was trying to do, like what path I had to take, like what my options were. When now I can see it's really, whatever I want it to be. So yeah, people logging on, just make sure you know that you can type in any questions, um, anything you're trying to do to really monetize. Like I'll try to give you some ideas on that. So I'm breaking into this first business thing. So the first business I was a part of was really like a delivery company. This was like they have like the Grubhub and the whatever Uber Eats and all that stuff now. Well, this is way before any of that. This was a small college town, um, Madison, Wisconsin. Actually, that's the football field of the town right there that I used to live in, that I grew up in. So basically, it was me and two other friends that one of them was from the West Coast, one of them was from the East Coast, and they already had those kind of restaurant delivery services out there. But being in the Midwest, like they're not really like quick to catch on to stuff like that. They're kind of like slow with the trends and everything. So they came out and they're like, well, There's a lot of students out here that are busy and they're not trying to go to these restaurants. So why don't we bring them a service so we can bring them food and everything? So we were like, okay. And I was like, yeah, I understand the city really well. I know where everything is. You guys understand this business thing because I didn't at the time. But I was just, really excited to be a part of a business. So basically, yeah, we just delivered food to students, and it worked out really well in the beginning because it was like just the college area, right? Like there's like a main street of restaurants, and we would go to these restaurants and we would pick up the food, and then we would like deliver like a mile away. And sometimes we'd pick up like five different things from the same restaurant and deliver it all to the same building. And it wasn't like it is today where you've got like whole cities, like the Grubhub and the Uber Eats. Like from what I understand, like people have to do like 10, 20 miles for delivery, stuff like that. So it's really hard to make money with that stuff today. But the way we had it set up in the beginning, like that worked pretty well. I mean, we were doing a lot of volume in a short amount of time. We were only open a couple hours a night. So what we did basically was started this up in the small area. Um, just had a few people. When we first started, maybe like the same 10 people would order every night, and we'd get a few extra people every other night. And over the first year, it grew um, decently. Like from not really, knowing at first was this going to work to by the end of the first year, which the year being the school year, because we did not stay open in the beginning in the summertime because all the students went home and they were our customers. So yeah, we had that first year. By the end of the first year, it was pretty clear that we were gonna, we were successful, that we could open back up the next year and we would keep growing and everything like that. Well, during that summer, one of the, there were three of us basically. One of the guys, pretty much like decided he did not want to come back to school. Decided he was done with school. Decided he wanted to stay out and like think it was New York or something like that. And he was just, I don't remember what he did, but he got a job somewhere where he was already making decent money. So he was like, I'm not coming back. I'm not doing this restaurant thing. You know, whatever happens to it happens. So basically, the guy from the West Coast was like, yeah, I want to come back. I want to keep doing this. So he ended up finding an investor out of, I think it was Florida. And this guy in Florida basically already had like a chain of these delivery places, right? So he basically bought us out. He took I think it was over 50% of the company. Um, which, I wasn't in that position. I was just more like I didn't have the funding to get it started. I was just more there like helping them grow and everything like that. So I didn't have any say in that really, which, in my opinion, we could have done it without that. But the guy who did that felt like that was the only way to go with it. So we got bought out by this guy. So that means like we're not really, we're still running it, but now we're on their system. We're incorporating everything order to their system, how they did things down in like Florida and everything like that. So that's really when like the problems first started, because these guys down in Florida don't understand like how the city is like set up where we're at. So basically, they're sending us orders that are like all like really strategically doesn't make any sense. They had a call center that was also doing other cities at the same time. So they didn't really seem to care that much about making things work better for us. They had too much other stuff to worry about. They didn't have enough people employed on to make that a priority to make things run smooth. So we kind of still did it how we did it. We kind of still did what we, knew what was right. And I was just kind of like, you know what, they're going to say what they got to say. I'm just going to run it however I think makes the most sense. And, they tell us like, you can't do it like that. But it's like, well, you're not here to tell us anything else. If you want to, make things easier, then that's cool. But otherwise, we're going to keep doing it how we want to do it. Well, basically, it continued to grow. There was still no competition, right? Um, And the way this worked, like the way this made money was, I'm not really sure how these, Grubhub and Uber Eats and all these things make money today, but the way that we made money back then was, we did not charge a delivery fee, but what we did was we uh, got a discount from each restaurant that we worked with. So say a sandwich costs, $5 for someone to go in that restaurant and buy. They would sell it to us for 4, and then we would sell it to the customer for like 6. So like we would make like, maybe like 20% margin on like each thing that we delivered, and we didn't have a delivery fee. But at the same time, like I said, we were only going like, not any more than 5 to 10 miles per delivery. Most deliveries was only like 1 or 2 miles. So yeah, it was working pretty good. Well, we were, the money was coming in all right. Everything was working. And what happened was, really the third year comes along, and they're deciding like, okay, well, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna try to, cover the whole city. And right away, I was like, hey, I don't think this is gonna work, for so many different reasons. I was like, but I'm not in the position to where they're gonna listen to me. I already knew that. I didn't have the money to fund it to start. I wasn't in that kind of role. So basically I told them, but they, I could tell it just didn't matter. They were gonna do what they're gonna do. So basically they wanted to expand to the whole city. They wanted to cover the whole city with deliveries. And I'm like, hey, you know, this doesn't make sense for to hire any drivers. No one's going to want to work for this because they're not going to make any money. They're going to spend more money on gas, all these other problems. But they did what they did, and basically, I kind of see why they did looking back now because that's when the competition started to come in. That's when other people saw that what we were doing was profitable, was making money, so they came through. However, they looked at it instead of like we're going to try to deliver to the whole city. We're going to get better restaurants. We're going to do better branding. We're going to do better marketing. All this like business stuff that a business should do, and they made it work like that. Where the company I was with just tried to expand over the city. Well, about I don't know, man, maybe like halfway through that third year, I was like done with it. I was like, this is a mess. I'm like, you guys have really messed this up. I'm like, I'm not really trying to have anything to do with this anymore. I'm bored with this. I don't see it. Like, I feel like, you grew, they tried to grow too fast. Like, they should have focused on the basics first, like the marketing and the branding and all that kind of stuff. So they didn't do that. They grew too fast. I was like, man, I'm out of here. Like moving on to something else. But I'm still glad I got that experience. Well, what ended up happening really was they ended up going out of business. I think like in the fourth year, so like about a year after I left. I don't know if you know right now. There's a lot of court battles between like Uber Eats, and all that stuff. Those businesses where they basically want their employees to be independent contractors, and the way the law is set up, it's more like these people are working full time, so they should be, employees and not independent contractors. Well, it makes a lot more sense monetarily for these businesses to pay these guys as independent contractors because taxes and everything like that. So basically, there were no, back then before there were these court battles. Where now they're kind of, they're paying lawyers off and they're making it so their employees are filed as independent contractors. This was back then, before this stuff went down. So the way that the law saw it when they filed their taxes, like after that third year after I left, was like that they should be employees, but they had been doing it as independent contractors. So they ended up having to pay back taxes on that. So they're already facing all this competition, all these problems with trying to expand. And now they've got this huge bill for back taxes. And I was like, man, I didn't see that coming. I saw something was going to go wrong, but I'm glad I got out of there. Learned a lot from the situation. Glad I got to be a part of it. Um, it was a good experience. It was a good business experience. I learned a lot from it. And that's basically, that wasn't passive income. So, like, that was like how much work you do, how many orders you take, that's how much you get paid. But from that, I saw, I was like, okay, well, this is not really the best, most efficient way to do business. I want to do a business where it's passive income. I want to do a business where it's, I'm getting paid when I'm sleeping. I'm getting paid no matter what. So I was like, okay, next business I do, it's going to be a passive income setup. It's going to be something where, I'm making money all the time based on the work I put out because I started understanding passive income. And, a huge part of it too is like, I don't want to have to be at a place all the time. Like, I don't want to have to be tied down to some kind of like location or anything like that. I want to be able to work from wherever I feel like working from. So just that idea and that want was made from learning what I learned from that first business. I couldn't even really call it a failure because it was successful for at least a few years, and most businesses fail before the first year. So in my mind, even though it failed after 3 years, that was a successful business. And I'm just going to take a break to say, anybody listening, make sure that you understand that there's open questions, open comments, anything that you're looking to make passive income from. I would say go ahead and type that out, and I'll try to give you some kind of any kind of advice I have on how to make passive income, any kind of sources that I know of off of your idea. So yeah, just feel free at any time. Any questions, any comments? Okay, so talked about that first business that I was in, how it started up, how it made money, um, how it grew, how it got shut down. So now what I want to talk about is basically some business people I look up to, right? So what I'm doing this podcast, and I'm doing a podcast where I'm going to be interviewing people about passive income, like how they turn their hobby or whatever they enjoy doing into a passive income, into a business that makes passive income, talking about the process of it. So, I've only got one episode of the podcast out so far. Really, until I get some people to interview, I'm just going to talk about other successful people. And I'm going to talk about really like their journey and how they made passive income. So, the first person I'm going to talk about today is Warren Buffett. He is definitely one of the most successful business people. A lot of people wouldn't even refer to him as a person. A lot of people would just say he's an investor. But I see it. I mean, this is clearly a very very sharp business person, because what he's doing is clearly more than just investing. I mean, he's investing in businesses, but he's understands how businesses work. That's why his investments work. And what he's doing is he's using investing really to like start businesses and form businesses and run businesses and things like that. So yeah, this guy was came from Omaha, Nebraska, middle class neighborhood. Like his dad was into politics, so his dad was somewhat successful. He uh, he was really interested in business at a young age and started doing a lot of things that made passive income. Like, I don't even know if he referred to it as passive income, but he had things like vending machines, right? Like video games, like pinball machines, I think it was. But basically, he had these set up over town, so he was making streams of passive income. And what came about this was that he, basically made enough passive income sources to support himself to start investing. And when he started investing, he, basically did what people did back then when there was no internet. Like, they got the Wall Street Journal, they got the investment papers delivered to them every day, and he just sat and read these papers for for the most part, did a lot of research on these investments. And, obviously, like he didn't start with billions of dollars, so he was making smaller investments at the beginning. And one thing I think that's very interesting about his story that I can really relate to is that in the beginning, all his neighbors really thought he was some kind of like lazy bum or something like that, right? Like they were like, this guy's car is in his driveway all day. He's not going to work. He doesn't have a job. Um, all talking about him like, he must be doing something illegal or else he's lazy. So everyone thought that about him, right? But no one ever went over and asked him like, what actually did he do? Because I mean, if I had a very good investor living next door to me, I would want to be picking this person's brain. I would be like saying hi to this person. I'd be like saying like, hey, what do you think about today with the market, whatever. But anyways, that didn't happen at the start because everyone just thought, because they were so conditioned to think that like, if you're not working at a job, if you're not like driving your car every day to a workplace to work for somebody else, that you must not be doing anything with your time. Like it's either that or nothing. And I mean, I was programmed like that for so many years. I see that all the time. So basically that's what happened with him. He was by himself doing all these, investment research, making all these investments. What happened was, like, from what I understand, his first business that he really invested a lot in, he worked out a deal with he owned like a something like a majority stake of the shares. So he worked out a deal with the owner of the business to where, like, the owner of the business was going to buy these shares from him, at a fair price. And then at that point, like, he would make a little bit of profit and then the business would get all of its shares back. Well, what happened was the business got super greedy and they decided, you know what, we don't want to pay him a profit. They were basically like, we were the one in charge. That's how they thought. Even though he had all the shares, he had the majority of shares. They thought, well, we're the business. We tell him what to do. So they came through and they gave him this offer where he would basically be losing money. They're thinking like, well, he doesn't have any other choice. Either he sells us these shares, takes a loss, or else he's going to be stuck with them. Well, when that happened, he was like, "No way!" He's a smart business person. He's like, "No, I'm the one with the shares. Like, what are you guys thinking? Like, you guys want to be greedy? I mean, it's going to come back to you." So basically, what he did was he took over the company. He was like, I have control, and he showed them that. And from what I understand, he fired the CEO, the guy that ran the company, and tried to offer him that bogus deal, and he took the whole thing over, and he actually made it more profitable. So through owning those shares, he took the company over, and he tried to be really civil about it at first. He tried to offer the business a way to get their shares back and everything, and he would just make a profit, probably move on to the next investment. But this business was greedy. Like really, a lot of these big corporations do have a greed culture that I see very strongly today, and really a lot of it they get away. But all it takes is one person like that. That's what all it takes is one person to just be a little bit smarter, a little bit sharper. So he comes through, he does all that, and now people see that okay, this guy's on point. This guy's like a good business person. Like he knows how to run things. From there, he picked that business up. He made it a lot more profitable, a lot more successful. He came through and started doing a lot of other investments. He had more money. As the money grew, the more money he had to buy bigger companies. So he formed, his own really like fund, like Berkshire Hathaway, it's called. And he basically like invests in a lot of businesses that he believes in, he supports. And from what I understand, there's a lot in between there where he bought up businesses that I'm just gonna really like leave out to get to where it is today. He pulled most of his money out of the markets right now. Like the majority of his money is in cash. Um, he basically sticks to the kind of investments he knew from the beginning, but he also is a lot older now, so he's trying to give a lot of his money away to charity and stuff like that. So a lot of the new technology stuff that he doesn't understand, he doesn't even invest in. So that's about him. Just wanted to say again, uh, go ahead and any questions, any comments, anything that you would like to know about passive income, getting passive income started. So I'm gonna break into the second person that I'm gonna talk about today. Next one is gonna be Richard Branson, and he's always a business person that I've looked up to. Just happened to randomly see him on Shark Tank the other night, so brought him back into my mind that yeah, man, I should talk about this guy on the podcast. I should talk about this guy. Actually, the reason that it stuck in my mind was on the episode he threw some water at Mark Cuban pretty randomly, and that had me laughing pretty hard. Like just random thing like that. Um, Not even the fact that like Mark Cuban got water through on him or anything like that. Just that he like actually did it. Like who does that kind of stuff? And the look on everybody's faces was like, "You're not supposed to do that. You're ruining the show." But he's like, I mean, you can just tell he's at a mindset to where like these like whatever everybody thinks doesn't apply to him. Like he just does what he wants to do. And like if people think like, "Oh, you're not supposed to do that," like he that doesn't even like pass his like brain. Like his mind doesn't even like operate like that. It's just like, "Oh, what do I think? What do I want to do? I'm going to do that." Like there's no like pressure from other people that like he's doing something that, is whatever, but he's still a good person. Like he still makes a lot of investments to charity, does a lot of businesses that help a lot of people. So basically, he's from the UK, from Britain, from England, and his first company that he started was a magazine, and he was a student at the time. And this magazine that he started to become, get a little bit of traction in his first year or two, and this was taking away his focus from school. So from what I understand, his person at the head of his school brought him in and was like, "Hey man, you've either got to focus on school or focus on this magazine because this magazine is just nonsense. It's not going to get you anywhere. School is going to be what is if you don't focus on school, you're not going to make any money and all this kind of thing, and you'll never be successful with this, like wasting your time on this magazine." Well, he was like, "Okay, fine. Well, if I have to choose one, I'm choosing the magazine." And had he chose to go to school and get a job, I mean, he most likely would not be the very rich person that he is today. That's contributed so much to society and to charity. So yeah, he started his magazine that became profitable, and then after that, he started basically a conglomerate of companies that started with music. He started producing albums, doing a lot of records. Back in the time it was records. Then from there he got into space. Kind of reminds me of Elon Musk. Like once he became profitable with his first thing and he got some money, he was like, "Okay, I'm going to get into the space business." Started his own airline. He wants to do like a space tourism thing. And I think he's already done a few flights where he's taken people out into space, and charges a lot of money, but it gives people a way to see outer space without working for NASA. So basically, his net worth right now is something like 5 billion. Um, I would have to say that he started in the early 70s, so he built that up in about 30 years, um, which is very possible. So really, I don't have too much more to say. I'm gonna make that about it for the day. It's raining outside, so I thought I would do this live stream. Just threw some stuff together real quick. Um, doesn't look like anybody has anything, any comments, any questions, so might as well just cut it short for today, get on to the next thing. Hope you got some value out of this. Hopefully it gave you some ideas on some ways to increase your business skills, increase your passive income knowledge. Um, so yeah, that's about it for today. If somebody's got a question to put in, I'll just wait another minute or so. If anybody wants to talk about, how they'd like to make passive income, really any way they don't see that they could do it, I'll just give, kind of my advice. All right, no problem. Until next time, I'm out. Keep making money without a doubt. Open up the spout so the money pours through. Trying to see it flow through and through. Never know who come along and make the business start. So stay strong.